once before in 2005. There was a prior application. I don't think anybody on the current commission was there other than me. If you could, explain to everybody your history, the fields that you practice in, community service, pro bono work, and that if you forget this stuff, don't worry about it, we'll hit you with the questions.
Okay.
And then why you think you would be a good circuit judge.
I started out as paralegal, so I worked through that process to see if I wanted to continue on with my education. I worked for Edgar Dunn. At the time, Horace Smith, who's on the panel, was a member of that law firm. After working through that for several years, I decided to make my application. I was told there was only one university to go to, the University of Florida. And so I made my application and was whirlwind. I got admitted immediately. I was asked by my spouse to get in and get out, so I completed law school in 2.5 years. And graduated and started back with the practice. I started working again with the same law firm. I was an associate to Edgar Dunn. And I worked with him through eminent domain work. He did a lot of contract litigation. He did not do family law. That was what Mr. Smith did, and I thought I would never do family law. I actually received a corporate book award when I went to the University of Florida and thought I would do more civil litigation. I worked with Mr. Dunn on tax matters, school board matters, and I eventually found that I really liked people contact, so I started to practice. In addition to that, we worked in probate. So I enlarged my practice to be involved in family law. I do probate administration, which involves the administration of the estates and trust. I also do work with regard to litigation pertaining to those matters. I am involved in guardianships. I represent a council on aging with regard to very complex guardianships that involve collateral litigation. And I also have an appellate practice now, which has helped me with regard to my trial practice. My downside is I've not done jury trials. I have done bench trials because that's the type of trial work that's required in my particular fields. Family law, which is my predominant matter in which I practice, and I don't have the opportunity to do those on the jury bench, but I have been before the appellate court with the judges and presented cases with regard to either trials that I was not the primary counsel on or trials that I was. And I found with regard to doing appellate work where the downside is, where we lose a lot of judicial economy, and that is with respect to, particularly in a family law matter where findings are really important, is that the trial judges will not always create those judges that will surpass appellate review. And that it's very important to put those findings in there. Otherwise, you end up on appeal with a reversal or remand, and then more time spent with regard to the litigants being involved in the judicial process. One of the things that I wanted to do as a judge was to help out with families. I see that a lot of the litigation involved here is probably primarily because of substance abuse, mental illness, and a lot of dysfunction in the families. And I am concerned that the judicial system is asked to help in those matters and they're not equipped to do so, that there needs to be a referral back out of the system to entities that can help with that. I've noticed that with regard to some activities that the RAP program has helped out with the juveniles in some of my cases, that the drug court has helped out with regard to dysfunctional mothers. And I have a heart for the family, a heart for the children. I have taught children. I also am very skilled with regard to finances, so I enjoy a complex litigation case with respect to financial matters. I enjoy change in the technology to help me expedite that. I've learned software programs. I use Excel to help me to do quick calculations and to determine financial issues. I enjoy using the Adobe Professional because I can quickly highlight cases. And if I'm not proficient in an area, I will read up on that. I will confer with other people to get background information to help me understand. And so I have a time in my life at this point to make a decision. Either apply for judgeship this time and either get appointed or not. And if not, I'll go forward with my private practice because my lease is up and I need to sign up either for another long-term lease, which will take me out of applying for a judgeship, versus staying, in the private practice and buying a building or something of that nature. I think what I would like to do with regard to the judiciary is to be able to turn around at times. We are waiting long time periods in hearings. I am concerned that it takes, by the time I have a hearing, I will already have a trial because of the way some of the calendars are done. And I think there's probably a way to expedite how you come up with your rulings by doing forms that are ahead that you just insert the information and move forward and quickly get a result to the litigants. Litigants, I think, are somewhat harmed by the delay. If you wait on a judicial ruling, the lack of knowing what's going to occur with their case makes a difference to that person. Some individuals get more anxiety-ridden. It's harder to deal with that client. That many clients get upset with the judicial system because I tell them to follow the rules. They get excited because the other party is not doing so. And they say, you know, they seem to win because you're telling me to not lie. You're telling me to follow the rules. And they're not doing it. Nobody's, you know, enforcing the order. So I think one of the things that needs to be done is to give some more teeth back to the judiciary where they follow through, that people understand they have consequences for their actions, and that they can also receive assistance outside the courtroom. That we are not set up to be counselors. And I find that in my family practice, which also falls into the probate area, much of the problems and much of the litigation results from lack of communication, people not feeling like they've been listened to and heard, and the lack of solutions. And a lot of drama is created, and I prefer to have that drama put aside and find solutions for these people so they can move on and become functional members of our society.
Catherine, when making decisions as a judge, to what extent should political or social or economic considerations be part of your determination?
I don't think political should have any bearing on it. With regard to social, are you referring to social friends of the judiciary or social?
The social network of the community.
I think the social network of the community will make a difference because that will let me know where my services are to assist. I mean, if I find out, I think one of the issues we have is we have lack of supervised visitation when we have possibilities of domestic abuse where we cannot send the parent out to have contact with the child other than to maybe the treehouse, and then they're really limited in the building because we have limited services. So I think that to help find the network for societal assistance would be of great need. With regard to politics, I don't think politics should play into this issue of deciding issues. And then what was the last one?
Economics.
Economics. Oh, economics clearly of the parties' plays. If you're redistributing wealth in divorce cases, people are coming to you, and that's their prime. At the end of the day, I tell my clients, you're going to look at this, and this is basically, we are redistributing your assets and your debt, and the only issue that relates to the emotions are your children. And so when you come into a civil case, once again, you're asked to find the damages and determine, you know, the amount of the damages, what the measure of damages are, etc. And that brings in the economic issues of what losses the business owner has had or the other individual.
Catherine, I see that you are what you describe as a sole shareholder in your firm.
Correct.
And I took that to mean, not that you are a solo practitioner.
That's correct.
And I see that you have really an admirable amount of pro bono work, which is mostly in family law, am I right?
That's correct.
Okay. If you're sent up, this is going to be a very, very abbreviated and fast process.
No, I understand that.
And shutting down a practice, have you thought about that? And
Oh, I have. My secretary is very, we were getting, like I said, this is the time where I'm going to have to move my office. And my secretary has pushed me, as did my former partner, Ed Dunn, into being tech savvy. And she made me paperless. And so she has been vigilant about getting files, you know, turned into shred in paper. And I said, that was somewhat hard for me to do because I'm old school. And I thought becoming involved with computer now, I thank Ed for making me do that because I can create my forms. I'm really versatile in doing my own rulings, and I've actually learned to use, naturally speaking, Dragon somewhat. And so shutting the practice down, I don't think will be as hard. You know, I think the downside, I'm going to miss my client contact. I enjoy people, but I think that, you know, as a judge, I can maybe broaden that horizon a little bit more than just with my limited clientele. So.
Catherine, I see that you were on the J&C in the past.
Correct.
What priorities were you looking for when you vetted a candidate?
One of the problems I saw as a JNC member is that due to the rotation, that it would be very difficult to find somebody that could fit all slots. And that you would not, I mean, very rarely, unless you have somebody that was a state attorney or a public defender that came out of that and went into criminal and family and moved out, but they typically don't get the civil litigation. So I looked for an individual that I thought had good judicial demeanor, was intelligent to make the transitions from different types of law because of the rotations, would be fair-minded, and had ethics. That was my primary, because I knew I could very rarely find a candidate that would be able to go and say, I've been in criminal, I've been in civil, I've been in personal injury, juvenile dependency, that kind of thing.
Catherine, this is going to begin in dependency, and I don't think there have been any judges that have always said, can I please stay in dependency?
Right.
Your concentration, though, is family, close to 70%.
Right.
Would you commit to saying, I'll do this for more than the 2-year rotation?
Like I said, I have a real passion for kids. And so I want to see the families get better. I tell my clients all the time, you will pass this, you need to get better, you need to get along, you have children, you need to have a unified front. And I don't like to see the family break apart. I think that is part of what's happened in the demise of our society. I've seen it more and more as I progress through my family practice. Since when I first started, I see the dysfunction with the children. More and more kids are going to juvenile because of the lack of parental supervision or control, or their dysfunction, their inability to handle what has happened to them through their lives. So like I said, I kind of got excited when my husband read what the changes were going to be to me, and he missed that part. And I went back and I go, dependency or juvenile, and I got excited. So I've not practiced that. I would have to gear up, and I have to say one of my concerns before I put my name in was my lack of knowledge. So I went to Judge Priest and I said, I know you're very conscientious, and that's what I want to do. I'd like to be prepared for a case. I don't like to come in and not have read my file and understand. I don't like to be embarrassed. And so I said my concern was getting into a different division that I was not familiar with. And he said, oh, that's not a problem. He said, usually it's 6 months. You read a lot, you learn, and I'm a reader. Ask Horace, he knows I like to read. And I would, go there, and if I could go to some CLEs to help me get up to, speed quicker and look through the forms and figure out where I can make different. Because I hear there's a long line of things